I love you too, Scott.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and MM The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
And good morning and welcome to the External Bum Show every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. right here, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter X platforms, and also on the Huddle Sports Network, Kneecap Biting with Smoke and Jeremy B Network, and also in the South Florida Tribune Network as well. We have several national networks that we're on here, and I appreciate everyone for having us. Also, appreciate you for being here, and please don't forget to subscribe. Ralph Williams, RW Media on YouTube, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter X platform as well. And also, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm also on Tumblr, and I'm on several other media platforms, Facebook. So please don't forget to follow my media page, social media platforms and pages, and also don't forget www.rwmediaproductions.com and RW and Ralph Williams 737 at gmail.com. Comment section wide open, but you will be only on the topics that we are discussing here on the program and nothing else. So just to let everyone know that. All right, we have our panel today, Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune, Jeremy BALREICH from the Kneecap Biting and the Detroit Lions, and also part of the South Florida Tribune. He writes some stuff for them as well, and is part of that network also. And we're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios here at Studios 808 in the Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh, 724-201-0500, Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, let's get started with introduction. Scott Morganroth, good morning, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how people can get a hold of you.
Well, I'm an author. You know that. Jeremy knows that.
Exactly. In fact, I'm going to put that up right now. Here we are.
There you go.
Yep, there we go.
Lessons on the microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. And guess what? Probably later this month, beginning of February, I'll be working on the second half of this book here, Lessons from the Microphone. Haven't figured out what a subtitle is, but over the next several weeks, I'll be able to come up with that as well. So I'm looking forward to making some updated revisions on it and adding some enlightening things that were not mentioned in the first book, plus some more pictures of it as well. Also, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, go to South Florida Tribune and please hit the subscribe button there. We have a lot of different shows on there. Ralph is on there. And
yes.
Jeremy do a great job on the Fire Up Show. I'm proud of both of you guys taking the show that Mark Mancini actually and I came up with, but I decided to give it to Candy, and now she's got her own country club with you guys. So you've done a really good job the way she put that thing together. But, you know, you have the Fire Up Show that you guys are a part of, And our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. And if you want to follow us on X at Tribune South, gets it done. So Candy does an unbelievable job there putting that website together. So, between YouTube, my book, I definitely want to write another one. I feel like I wasn't able to get everything in the first one, but over the course of 2024, I was able to accumulate enough experiences to put together. I would say this book now that we have is 15 chapters. I would venture to guess that this next one's going to be about 10. It won't be as long, but there'll be a lot of pertinent updates that I'm going to put in there, and as time goes on. But I have a really big first half of the year between doctor's appointments as well as big events that are coming up as well that I'll divulge another time as we get closer to the event. Glad to be on the show every week.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. And don't forget to pick his book up at Barnes & Noble and also on Amazon and with his publisher as well. And also, Scott is the sponsor of our bum segment, which will be coming up shortly here on the External Bum Show. Jeremy BALREICH, Smoking Jeremy B. Welcome to the program. Thank you for being here. Good morning. And tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Well, you already mentioned the fact that I write for the South Florida Tribune. You mentioned the fact that I share it to my channel because, like you, we broadcast into the Huddle Sports Network on my channel. I do shows with Scott's wife and him on his channel. I'm everywhere. It doesn't matter. On social media, it's going out everywhere anymore. Twitter, Facebook, all of it. And then on yours, we're going on Twitch. When I'm on Scott's, we're on LinkedIn.
All right, Josh, good morning, says the External Bum. That's the name of the show. Absolutely. So there we are with that. All right. Okay, guys, let's get started with our bum segment. Your bum for 2024. We'll start with you, Jeremy.
My bum for 2024 has to be Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets. Before the season started, we knew that Jerry Jeudy was on the trade block, and they were supposed to trade for him, and the GM goes to him, and he says, well, my kid says his Madden rating isn't good enough, so we're not going to do it.
All right. Okay. Scott Morganroth, your bum for 2024.
You really should have pluralized this one. How do you come up with a bum for a year? So you know what? I'll do it for you. Okay. John Morant, to me, should be a role model for kids. Instead, he flashes guns around and he's a distraction off the court. It's too bad because this guy has some tremendous ability on the floor. He really, really does. So he's going to be one of my bums. The other one's going to be Joel Embiid. I'd like to know if he's ever played a full season at all. To me, at the rate Joel Embiid's going to go down, I'll go out there and say that he'd be the equivalent to Greg Oden, a guy that can't make it through an entire year. And I hate to put him in the Sam Bowie discussion, but I'll definitely go ahead and do that as well. Joel Embiid makes more money to play less games than I've ever seen. Don't worry about individual awards. Before it's all said, he'll rightfully deserve not to win a championship due to his lack of availability. And you know what? Charles Barkley's been a big he criticizes him a lot, and rightfully so. So Joel Embiid and John Morant, to me, qualify as my two bums for 2024.
All right. My bum is Pat Narduzzi, the head coach of Pitt football. And let me tell you why. Pitt was 7-0, and they ended up being 7-6 through the whole season. Okay. The bowl game versus Toledo, we went into 6 overtimes, which we could have had it after 2 overtimes, but Pat Narduzzi decided that he thought his defense was good enough to stop Toledo's offense, okay, which it wasn't at the time. All right. I believe that Pat Narduzzi's my bum for 2024. How do you let your team go into a 6-game losing streak, end the season 7-6 after you were 7-0? And I don't want to hear any stories about injuries and lack of depth and all that stuff. That's your job, to make sure that you have a good football team out there. Pitt has been mediocre for many years. I call it the Jackie Sherrill curse, because since Jackie Sherrill was the head coach and Dan Marino was the quarterback, Pitt has not been seriously prominent. and I'm talking about going to prominent bowl games and getting close to the national championship. And that hasn't happened since 1976. So I'm very unhappy with the Pitt football program. I'm hoping that Alan Green, our new AD, will either do something about this or fix something or whatever he needs to do to get this program back up and going. Alan Green comes from the Tennessee Volunteers program, which is a prominent program, all right, not mediocre. And Pittsburgh has become a mediocre sports town over the last 2 years. Penguins haven't done anything. I also want to talk about that is my bum as well for this year. The Pirates have done nothing, of course. The Penguins have done nothing. The Steelers failed to get to the Super Bowl, and we'll see what they do this year. But that's my bum for the 2024. All right, guys. All right, our next segment is brought to you in part by Keystone Coach Works. Hey, look, if you're handicapped like I am, you need a wheelchair accessible van, call Keystone Coach Works today, 412-833-1900. Ask for Don. Tell Don Ralph Williams sent you. He has great vans. He'll retrofit anything for you. I bought a van from him. I'm very satisfied as to what's with Keystone Coach Works. Get a hold of them today. All right, let's go to the comment section real quick here, see what we have. All right, let's see here. Yes, I am going to acknowledge the chat for the show, Josh, but I'm not putting up derogatory comments. If you read my statement at the beginning of the comment section, it will be the show for today's topic only, which doesn't include the type of comments that you're making here right now. Only the good ones, the ones that are not very offensive, will go up. All right, so just want to let you know. And Delaw77, good morning, says my other bum is Pensman for asking if he should quit the YouTube. So I don't know what that's about.
Well, you know what? Let me respond to that.
Go ahead.
I'm crazy about a topic like that. Pensman does a good job. He's very misunderstood as far as I'm concerned. So, and I'll be honest with you, he's been one of my best additions in 2024. And I have a lot of big plans for this guy here on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. I've known Pensman actually for a couple of years, and I've been trying like heck to get him on our show and our system. And now this guy is a dream. He's just great. I like this guy.
All right, Josh.
No, I get why he said. I get why he said it though. When somebody talks about quitting doing something,
yeah,
and you like what they do, it makes it hard to want to like the guy. You see what I'm saying? It's not that you don't like them. It's where's your heart?
Well, let me ask you a question, Jeremy.
Where's your integrity?
Do you think that Josh likes living in his own shadow, being kicked off every other show? I don't know. Then again, maybe he doesn't bother him.
Probably not. You know, but he wants to make comments about a bum, and we're not talking about a sports bum.
Right.
Those are the derogatory comments. Those are the comments we're talking about. Wanting to talk about what people had for dinner, somebody's significant other.
Right. Well,
maybe you should have stopped doing what I told you to stop doing, and you wouldn't have been.
Well, in the eyes of one of my ex-girlfriends, and thank God she's an ex-Puerto Rican girlfriend, and I didn't know a whole lot about Spanish because I got the Rolls Royce anyways in my house. The only Spanish word I ever knew was el stupido, and other than the uno dos tres. So, in my opinion, when you criticize somebody just for the sake of doing it. And again, I have to tell you, my Spanish is limited. I do have to make a confession. Don't they do that in religion on a gay like Saturday where you have to make a confession? I'll confess that I never took foreign language in school. And every time I got to one, I landed back in woodshop. And down in South Florida, not knowing Spanish kills me because it killed me with my Miami Marlins during the Zoom calls. Those guys are el stupido. And that's your Spanish lesson for 2025.
All right. The New
At
Year's
least
here.
pertaining to knocking people. I can deal with these guys because I'm a basket case and so are they. So it's okay.
All right. The New Year's here. It's great to have you here for the 2025 year. We're going to make this show and my production, South Florida Tribune's production, and Jeremy BALREICH's kneecap biting. We're going to have a better year this year. More viewers, more subscribers, and I think we're going to be real successful coming into this year. Okay, first, guys, before we get into our main topic, the 2024 good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, so Therefore, first we're going to talk about yesterday. Very busy day for the Jets. Mike Vrabel interviewed for the head coaching job. Louis Riddick interviewed for the GM job. I like Louis Riddick. I like Mike Vrabel. Jeremy, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on those interviews yesterday by the Jets organization?
Well, it's smart to interview everybody they can, and I think it would behoove them to get an established coach.
Right.
Oh,
all right, Scott.
Now we're talking about the Jets.
Nope.
If you hire Louis Riddick, you've done well for yourself. I watched the guy. He deserves another opportunity to lead the team. And if you get Mike Vrabel, that's a double whammy. I have no problem with either of those two should they get the job. Rex Ryan, I don't know about that. Rex, to me, would be a good used car salesman if he wants, or he can sell siding. So, but, you know, he had 2 winning seasons, but had 4 losing ones in a row, and they let him go. And, of course, he lost 1 year in Buffalo. But you know what? Hey, to Rex's credit, he wants that job. And that job isn't a very desirable one, especially when you let Robert Saleh go and you look bad doing it because the alternative was awful.
Right. Exactly. All right, guys. Next, we're going to talk about today's NFL games. We have Cleveland versus the Ravens and, of course, the Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan and I'm not a Ravens fan, but today I am a Cleveland Browns fan. And the reason why is I want the Ravens to lose so the Steelers can get a better playoff position. I think they're going to beat the Cincy Bengals today. Your thoughts, Scott? We'll start with you on today's games.
Oh, I want Cincinnati to win. I'd love to see Joe Burrow get in the playoffs. I really would. I think it'd be great. I think Joe Burrow, to me, is, you know, he wants to be in Cincinnati. He's an Ohio guy. He won at LSU, and he took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Who in their right mind wouldn't want them to go there? Well, then again, maybe you, because you're in their division, so I can see where your position is. You're a homer. And if the Miami Dolphins don't get in the playoffs, it won't break my heart either. So reality of the situation is I think Tua is not even going to be playing. So if they get in, they're going to have to do it by Tyler Huntley.
Yeah. Well, Tyler Huntley's not a bad backup. He was good.
What were you going to say, Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Tua announced yesterday that there is almost no way anybody can keep me out of this game.
Oh, did he? Okay, well, so be it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he put that out on his social media.
Oh, okay, well, more power to him. Hey, to his credit, he's battled a lot of odds this year with his concussions, and he came back when a lot of people said he shouldn't do it. So I'm not downplaying Tua at all. He's a fine quarterback. I still will not back away from what I'm saying, that they gave him that contract extension way too premature. They really did. They had another year that they could do it. And he's been banged up. But if he can play today or play this weekend, more power to him. He knows what's on the line. They want to get in the playoffs. Now, the question is whether or not he'll be efficient with his wide receivers. I don't know. Not going to go there. But I'm still pulling for Joe Burrow no matter what you guys are saying. I love Joe Burrow, and I hope he gets in.
All right, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on these games?
I think Cleveland's going to have a rough time doing that because, you know, other than Myles Garrett, who do they have on defense? And
yeah, you're right.
Cincinnati, they don't have a defense. If this rest helps to get this team back into shape like it should, and you're completely healthy, there's no reason why the Steelers shouldn't be able to beat Cincinnati. But all that's for naught, because if Miami beats the Jets, and they just might, I don't care that they haven't won a game in the cold. The Jets are that bad. If they win, Cincinnati doesn't get in the playoffs.
Well, the reality is if Denver wins, then none of them are getting in the playoffs if they take care of business against Kansas City.
All right.
That's all they have to do. Patrick Mahomes is not playing. So who do you have behind him? You got Carson Wentz.
And also 10 other players aren't playing in that game too.
Right, also, but I'm talking about the lead dog here. And let me tell you something. Don't kid yourself about Carson Wentz. He's using this as an audition to land on an NFL team next year. So say what you want about Patrick Mahomes not playing today, but Carson Wentz is looking to showcase himself for 2025. That's what I'm going to tell you. I know that Andy Reid wants to rest players, and rightfully so, he should. So, but we'll see. It'll be an interesting weekend. I love putting stuff up on when I get the NFL stuff because I love sharing it with my followers to make them smarter. You obviously read a lot of what I send out there, right? On Twitter, Jeremy, you know that some of these sources I have are pretty strong.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's move on to our next segment. We're going to talk about the college football championship real quick, some of the games that happened, and it's brought to you by DraftNation.com. Draft coverage, you want it, you got it. DraftNation.com, $9.99 a month, and you get a inbox type of a inbox internet type of a newspaper that tells you everything you want to know about anything connected with a draft. They break the skinny down on every player, whether it's NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, and of course the NFL draft coming up. And don't forget 2025, it's in Green Bay this year. 2026, it's in Pittsburgh, and I'll be more than happy to see the draft come here to Pittsburgh for the 2026 season. All right, guys, Notre Dame versus Penn State, and then we have some other games in the championship series as we keep moving along with this. Notre Dame, Penn State. Scott, we'll start with you.
You know what? After watching what the Irish did to Georgia,
oh my gosh.
And I have a chance to see Notre Dame play at Hard Rock Stadium against Miami next year. I'm going to go Notre Dame. They have convinced me. They hammered Indiana, and then what they did to Georgia impresses me. This team has me believing. Don't lose sight of the fact that Marcus Freeman's a heck of a coach. This kid, you know, Brian Kelly wanted to leave Notre Dame, and I'll bet Notre Dame is saying, "Thank you very much, Brian, for going to LSU, where it'll be hard to win championships in the SEC." And you got Marcus Freeman. It's unbelievable. In fact, take note of this. You have two African-American coaches at top universities. Sharon Moore will get things straightened out with Michigan. I can tell just by looking at his recruiting class. It's starting to look better. But Marcus Freeman, to me, impresses the daylights out of me. And you know who he has as his defensive coordinator? A guy that I have an opportunity to interview for the Super Bowl, Al Golden. Al Golden.
Oh, Al Golden, man. Wow. Yeah.
He's their defensive
with the Temple program.
Yes. Yeah, he also coached Miami, the Miami Hurricane. Yeah. But I had a good conversation with, get this, guys. I had a good conversation with Al Golden during the Super Bowl when he was with Cincinnati. And Al Golden's a really good mind. And Jeremy should know, he was assistant coach of the Lions for a little while, too. So I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. So I'm riding Notre Dame, at least through Penn State. I don't think Penn State is going to be able to win the big game, but I'm not going to say that they didn't do well during the playoff. The college football playoff, you know what it showed me? It shows me that these SEC dominance is all well and good when you have a +1 under 4. But put these teams back to back, week to week, against some of the top competition, and let's see where the SEC really is. And I think you're getting a glimpse of that during the college football playoff. But to answer your question, Ralph, I'm going to ride with Notre Dame.
Okay, great. So am I. I've never been a Penn State fan to begin with, but James Franklin really hasn't won the big game, and we're going to find out what they're made of against Notre Dame. I'm now starting to become a Marcus Freeman fan. At the beginning of the thing, it was not Shamar Moore showed me something when they beat Alabama. Even though Alabama really was, like Jeremy has said, overrated in most cases, but still, it was Alabama is a good football team. And I was quite surprised that Michigan did what they did. So I respect Shamar Moore now, and I respect Marcus Freeman for bringing Notre Dame to where they are.
You and everybody else. I mean, come on. Alabama was whining that they didn't get in the college football playoff. Michigan took care of that. You didn't belong there. Of course, it didn't hurt that Ward Manuel said we judge strength of schedule. So of all things that happens, okay, Alabama gets Michigan, right? And then
Michigan rolled.
Warren Manuel, his own team here made him feel a lot better by getting rid of Alabama. And that was called a win ugly game, knowing that they had a two-headed quarterback. Well, I'll just say a great defensive coordinator in Wink Martindale who neutralized them. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. Jeremy, go ahead. Go ahead.
My observation of the college football playoffs, and I'm going to sum it up plain and simple. I know who's all coming up, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this bye week for the top 4 is ridiculous. I think it should be 2 teams with a bye week at most. It's just we've seen here that extra week off when it's 4 weeks between games, that definitely goes to the rust factor of a team and their chemistry and their mojo.
Pretty hard to argue with the results, Jeremy, when they're 0-4.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because every single one of those teams came out flatter than a pancake in the first quarters, put up a goose egg, and went down by 14 to 16 points in the first quarter. It's almost impossible to expect college kids, when half of them are freshmen and sophomores who haven't had a lot of time on the field, to be able to overcome that type of adversity. I understand it's more on the coaching, but at the same time, that rust factor is hard to get your chemistry going to gel. And if you have those failures early, it sticks in your craw when you're a kid.
So let me ask you a question. Of those 4 that lost, who came out the flattest of the 4?
I'm going to say Oregon.
Yeah, I am too. Down 31-0. That thing looked like
and the one that put up the biggest fight, and it was the best game out of all of them, was the one that we thought had the least amount of chance to win, Arizona State.
No question about it.
Arizona State put up the best fight out of any of those 4 teams.
Listen, it's one thing to try to beat a team twice. It's another to go out there and lay an egg in the first half and then play catch up the whole time too.
Right? Yeah. And I'm saying kudos to them because they went down 14-0, and the first drive of the second quarter, boom, they got a touchdown.
Well, it's all about adjustments too, guys. The first quarter or the first half of the game, you could be down flat out, losing 31-0, but then come into the second half, make some adjustments, and get some things together. And then that happens a lot. And Oregon coming back like that, was adjustments, and that's why you have 2 halves.
Yeah, but let's not lose sight of this, Ralph and Jeremy. Ryan Day right now loses to Michigan, okay, and everybody's already out to run this guy out of town. He blows out Tennessee. Okay, well, that we'll just breathe a little easier, and then he goes out there and ambushes Oregon. I mean, leave the guy alone. He's a heck of a coach.
Yeah,
I like Ryan Day.
Yeah, all the
I like him and his record.
I was just hoping he'd put 100 spot on Oregon. Couldn't do it.
I like him and his record against everyone but Michigan.
Exactly.
But as a Michigan fan, I love that record versus Michigan.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Yeah, that really isn't considered anything that I would really doubt in anybody's right mind. But I like Ryan Day. I mean, let me tell you, he certainly is. Michigan is his daddy, as they always used to say.
Yeah,
but you're not putting 100 spot now. He's lost 4.
He couldn't beat Michigan. That's why John Cooper got fired.
Right.
Yeah, but let me tell you one thing about this year, though. Okay, what Ryan Day ran against when he lost to Michigan was an unbelievable defensive coordinator with Wink Martindale, who's gone out there in the NFL and has shut down teams to begin with. So while we can criticize Day all we want, he was just overmatched with that chess game against Wink Martindale, and Chip Kelly got out chess matched against Wink Martindale too. So Wink Martindale to me is unbelievable. I'll just be curious to see what the Wolverines' new offensive coordinator will do. So you have both coordinators running on all cylinders.
Yeah, I thought Dirk Cutter did a good job as the offensive coordinator at Boise State. I think I thought he did a really good job this year.
But you're bringing an established offensive mind anyway.
Yes, and a defense.
He's been an established offensive mind for years, this guy.
Right.
And I'm glad he's at Boise State.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys, let's get into our main topic for today. And our main topic for today is brought to you in part by the Steel City Yellow Jackets, our ABA team here in Pittsburgh. Don't forget to go and check them out. They're at the on Climax Street up here in the Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh. They are at the community center. It's called the Giving Love Community Center. They play at the gym there. Check them out. Check out their website, steelcityyellowjackets.com, and tell them Ralph Williams sent you when you get your tickets or check out for schedule for their games. All right, guys, let's get started with our main topic today, and that is the good, the bad, and the ugly in 2024. Now, I'm going to start off with some bad things. We had deaths in baseball: Ricky Henderson, Pete Rose, and a few others. That's the bad for me. The good was Penn State won the national championship in girls volleyball. Pitt was close; they were in the top four or the final four in volleyball. Some of the real ugly stuff was some of these Travis Hunter with Colorado having issues with his fiance and having personal issues. That's it's going to make it bad for him in the NFL. That's the ugly. That's my good and the bad and the ugly so far. I'll come up with some more later as we go. I'll start with you, Scott. Good, the bad, the ugly, 2024.
You know what? The good for me is an easy one, and I don't even need more than one on this. Kenny Albert.
Okay.
The best interview I had all year, and he's a good friend of mine, and I had an opportunity to interview him when I was at the NHL All-Star game in Tampa. One of the best interviews I've ever had. He will be in my next book, and he even wrote a book on his own called A Mike for All Seasons. Kenny Albert's a class act who's covered every sport. And the one thing that you can learn from a guy like him is he's a man of his word. And the more you know, the better off you are in life. You can't be a one-trick pony, and Kenny, in his particular case, isn't, because he's covered every sport on the planet. But the one thing people don't know about Kenny is when you get to know him, he's just a class act and a nice person. And obviously his dad is legendary Marv Albert, and Marv Albert had a great career in his own. So Kenny Albert, to me, it was just fun talking to a guy who I view as a friend. I've got his number. I can reach out to him anytime I want. But, it's just one of those things that when you go to a major networking event, as I did with National Sports Media Association, just to catch up with some of your old friends. It really is. So I don't even need another number one. Kenny Albert is it. As far as the bad is concerned, the LA Lakers, wow, they won the NBA Cup. My goodness. But they never sniffed the NBA Finals. And then they fired Darvin Ham and used him as a scapegoat. Really? What do they got with J.J. Redick? Not a whole heck of a lot. And then also on the bad, you got Florida State football. It's too bad. But you know what? I have a little more sympathy for Florida State because what happened to Marshall this year, where you had a lot of guys going into the transfer portal, and you had nothing left to even field a team to go to a bowl game. But I was putting some stuff out on social media because I'm on the Florida State football media distribution list, and they're going to recover big time next year. They really do. They bring in Gus Malzahn from Central Florida to be the offensive coordinator, and you're going to start seeing a lot more head coaches become offensive coordinators because they don't want to deal with all this nonsense. So I think Florida State will rebound. It was a tough year for the Noles. I saw them play against Miami, but they're just a victim of the system. And we all know what happened last year at the Orange Bowl when Georgia blew them out of the building. So as far as the ugly, well, it's back in Detroit. Monty Williams, 14 wins and 68 losses. But now he's getting a paycheck just to stay home of over $50-60 million. And what do the Pistons have now? JB Bickerstaff was 16 and 18, I think, Jeremy. I think they beat Charlotte last night. So they're getting uglier than Monty Williams.
All right, guys. All right, Jeremy.
What's
for
that?
you.
J.I. made the chat.
Oh, yeah. Hang on a second. Let me see what we got here. I'm going to look at it right now. Okay, there we are. Yeah. Hey, Jay. How are you? How's everything? Go
Hey,
Lions.
Jay. Happy New
Ralph,
Year.
how are you, Jay? Thank you for being part of the program. And let's see what we got here. More Jay. It says, doesn't get any uglier than Monte Williams. So there you go. All right.
He agrees with you. My good is I want to talk about since week, what was it, 13. So that's going on 5 weeks ago now, right, for the NFL. Every week, all we heard is, man, the injuries. There's no way the Lions are going to win. And they just keep doing it. Kudos to AG for making it work with fourth and fifth string players. Granted, it's only 4 starters that are out as a total, but he's been doing it with fourth and fifth string players because even their second and third string players got hurt. picking them up off their other practice squads, the Legion of Whom, as I named them, because every week you got another new guy, new face doing better. The bad. Chicago Bears in their front office. They still can't get it right. It's awful. When, especially after you read the report that polls went to Davis Warren and the McCaskies prior to the draft and said, "I want to fire Eberflus so we can have a new coach in here already for the next 3 years with Caleb Williams," and they told him no.
Wow. Hey, you know what?
Let me add one thing I forgot to mention, if I can. I just want to wait for Jeremy to finish. George Karl went on record saying that the NBA is better when the Pistons are playing well. And George Karl, to me, knows a lot more basketball than anybody will know in 9 million lifetimes. So I hope and pray that it'd be great to see what George said come to fruition. I think the Pistons are doing way better, and more power to George for making that comment.
All right.
And the ugly.
Good.
The ugly was the text that Caleb Williams sent to the punter at the draft because he has punted for more yards than Caleb Williams has thrown to. He said, "We won't need you much this season."
That is funny. By the way, for which you were at.
Right. But when we saw that come across, didn't I look right at you, covered my mic during the live reaction show? I said, "Man, that's bold."
Yeah, it was bold. The only thing that happened with Caleb Williams is he came down to earth and welcome to the Windy City.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome to the
where finding a quarterback is virtually impossible because an organization that is really good at not getting it right.
Oh, absolutely. And then the interesting part is, Scott, they keep on drafting these quarterbacks and can't develop them properly or not in the right system or whatever, and then they end up flopping, and that's what's going on. And that happens all the time. Jeremy even said this, quarterbacks in the top 10 or, even the first round pick should sit out like Jordan Love did and a few others. So, I mean, and let them learn before you put them in there,
But Jeremy's heard me 9 million times on my shows, okay? How many times have I told you, Jeremy, okay, that no quarterback is going to succeed when you change the head coach and the offensive coordinator all the time? And I'll still go back to what I said. I don't feel that Joey Harrington was a bust.
It's always better to change them before you draft the quarterback than change them right after.
Oh, no
this
question
is what we've
about
seen.
it.
This is what we've seen. The ones that just hired new coaches or have the coach that's only been there a year, all of those rookie quarterbacks are doing well, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go back to what I've been saying all along. I still, to this day, don't believe that Joey Harrington was a bust.
No, I don't think so either. I think he got thrown to the wolves with a bad coach.
And a bad general manager.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that coming up before the draft. We're going to talk about every team that had a bad quarterback and a bad draft. So we're going to be talking about that coming up this year as well.
Well, then you better have 2 hours of airtime, Ralph. So you better rack up those sponsors. You're going to need more than one.
Hey, I got the sponsors. We can do 2 hours on that if you want. It's up to you.
I know. I'm probably inviting myself for trouble with it, but that's
or we can do a part 1 and a part 2. We can do one show 1 week and the second week do a part 2 of that. I mean, we have some fun with that. That's you know what I mean.
I know that one. When you're on the internet, what do you expect, man? I just hope and pray that over the next several weeks, when I get more information about my throat, whether I'll have a voice before long, because my wife will wonder why everything is quiet around here. Then my cat's Bucky and Boots will be doing more talking than I am, but I'll have to write everything down. So yeah, Jeremy, I see that look in your.
You knew where I was going. I was like, "You're a writer. If your throat don't work, write it all down."
Exactly. I knew where you were going. I know. My wife is smiling at me right now.
I know she is because she knew one of us was going to say it.
Yeah. Well, you're the one who's on live, so that's why I figured you would.
All right, we're in the Mata Heating and Air Conditioning Studios, 724-2010-500. Call Mata today. Mata Heating and Air Conditioning. Also, don't forget this afternoon, 2 o'clock, 2 to 3 p.m., 1250 AM, 92.5 on the FM dial. Sports Corner Radio Show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia Rosano, and Luther Dupree. And please do not forget about us every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X platforms, and also on the Huddle Sports Network, Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B, and also the South Florida Tribune Network as well. And please don't forget every Saturday morning to start your morning off with the triple header of Ralph Williams, the Ralph Williams Show, every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Next week, I'm working on getting one of the mayors from one of the Mon Valley communities. Those of you who don't know, U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel deal has been nixed by our so-called outgoing president who decided to shoot it down. And we have some politicians in this time. We'll talk about that next week on the Ralph Williams Show, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., 1250 a.m., 92.5 FM, The Answer as well. And don't forget to join me Monday, 7 o'clock p.m., the return of The Way We See It with me, Ralph Williams, and Bill Canada. And then also, don't forget on Tuesday, we have the Sports Corner Show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier. I have to go. I have prior obligation on Tuesday, maybe, depending on the weather. We may have to move the show to 5 o'clock and cancel the Wrestle Talk show. I have a guest coming on. He's a former NWA wrestler. I'm working on getting him on. And he also covers the Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, Steelers, and some other stuff on Tuesday on the Sports Corner Show with me, Ralph Williams, and Smoking Jim Frazier. All right, guys, let's continue. Let's get into our, let's continue. The good, the bad, and the ugly, 2024. All right, I want to add some bad things that happened. How about Buffalo losing to Chicago 33-6 this year? That was a bad loss. Some ugly stuff that went on this year. We had a bunch of ugly stuff that happened this year, and also some good stuff that happened. And the good is the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers this year were able to have the services of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at quarterback. I want to say that's a good thing that happened this year. The bad with the Steelers is the fact that that their defense has given up too many points, and the ugly is the three losses that we just had. Some real ugly losses and some real bad games played. Communication, 18 years of coaching, Mike Tomlin and his team can't communicate on defense. All right. And that's because of Terrell Austin, and Jeremy warned me about Terrell Austin. And I'm not saying I didn't believe you, but you warned me about it. So, all right, let's go to the comment section here real quick before we get back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, let's see here. Jay says, it doesn't a good offensive line. That's when you've got the rookies, but out there because they will fail. Yes, absolutely. Rookie offensive linemen. We have a couple on our offensive line. Have done pretty good, haven't done so well. Broderick Jones, our number one draft pick last year, has given up a lot of sacks. I would love to see if there's a direct correlation between offensive line and quarterback success. I would imagine there is. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your comments, Jay. Hope this well with your throat, Scott. Best wishes. You can have a text-based solution that could add almost any voice to it. Thank you for that,
Jay.
Jay.
Let me just tell you this. With all due respect, I don't really talk about my health a lot. My situation's a lot more serious than that. I have two vocal cords that are sitting right next to each other, where we're going to be doing therapy. And if therapy doesn't work, I'm headed to the operating table for it. So, with all the raspiness, I struggle nowadays to get through shows all the way, but I'm managing to find a way. But, hopefully, I don't know if the surgery is a guarantee it'll work, but let's just put it this way, Jay. I love you. I think a world of you. But when you put your throat through the rigors for 45 years, it's bound to be like brake pads. And, there's a little bit of wear and tear on it. But thanks a lot for the kind words, Jay.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see. Jay says, Ralph, why is your tag the external? Because that's what that's what the show is, the external bum. All right.
No, why did you name it?
Yeah, the legacy of Bruce Kessinger, who is long gone.
Exactly. Bruce Kessinger and Mark Mancini started the show. I came on. They asked me to come on as a co-host. And Mark, I brought it here. Thank you, Scott, for that recommendation, because I had it on the failing and about to shut down Blog Talk Radio at the end of January. So, and I appreciate Scott and say, hey, look, why don't you bring it to YouTube and the social media platforms? And it's worked very successful. And thank you for that as well, Scott.
Well, the one thing you need to understand, Ralph, and we'll see how often you've read my book, you got to start thinking 3 steps ahead of this thing, pal. And that's the only reason why I brought it to you, because I feel like you are one of those types of guys. If you read something, you should read it again, and then you'll understand the method, how you try to navigate through all the changes that are currently in our industry for sure. So.
All right. Pensman Sports says, hey, guys. Also, Jay said Happy New Year earlier. I want to wish him a Happy New Year and everyone else a very Happy New Year. I hope 2025 is better for you than 2024. Also, let's see, Scott, prayers and hope that luckily you have Candy with you to help you as well. And
she's a godsend. Are you kidding?
Yeah, and then Pensman says, great show so far. Thank you, Pensman. Appreciate your comments. Scott's hook translates to playing chess a bit too, says Jay. And then also Pensman, thank you, Jay, for that as well. And that is our comment section. You're welcome as well. Based on the topic of today, that's what the comments are based on. And that's where we go with this. That's why it's called the External Bum Show. We talk about bums in sports and other sports topics as well. That is where we are today. All right, let's get back to the good, the bad, the ugly, some more. Scott, do you have any more to add before we move on to our local segment?
Well, I mean, the only thing you're really going to talk about bad is, who died. Now, I have to say this, and I don't talk politics. Rest in peace to former President Jimmy Carter, who ironically died on my birthday. So on December 29th, 2024. And for that matter, Alice Linda Lavin died as well. So a few people didn't get past my birthday, but rest in peace to Jimmy Carter and Ricky Henderson, of course. He died 5 days short of his 66th birthday. Ricky Henderson, I wish I would have met him, but it's hard to meet everybody. But I know one thing, to me, Ricky Henderson personified greatness on the base pass, and he was great for baseball. And with all due respect, he was the type of guy that could play with Billy Martin. Billy Martin is the best manager that hasn't been in the Hall of Fame, only because of the fact that a lot of his runs were short and he got fired a lot. But I'll tell you one thing, hopefully one of these days Billy Martin does make it into the Hall of Fame, and hopefully Don Mattingly does too.
Yeah, and also Pete Rose. I think Pete Rose should
be in Pete Rose will get in now that he's dead.
Yeah. It was sad that he wasn't in before, and this ban from baseball. And I get it, but come on. I mean, one of the greatest baseball players ever, Pete Rose. So I mean, Barry Bonds also. I think he should.
Well, no, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. I don't care if you're in Pittsburgh or not. I'll send you to Russia if you think he belongs there, and then nobody will get your show out in Russia. Barry Bonds doesn't belong in there. Number one, he's so darn stupid. Now everybody's looking for a rant because you started it, sick them head. Here's the deal. Barry Bonds, I didn't even want to talk to this guy when San Francisco lost to the Marlins because he's the most arrogant sick them head I've ever seen in my life. Ricky Henderson was an amazing player, and Barry Bonds is an amazing jerk. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I didn't want nothing to do with this guy at all. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather get soaked in the Marlins locker room talking to all these guys that won than Barry Bonds. And Barry Bonds would probably tell you that if there were do-overs, he should have done a much better job getting along with the media. And just because he looked like a five-tool player in Pittsburgh because he was skinny and fast and could hit home runs, and all of a sudden he got fat with Balco out in the Bay Area, Barry Bonds belongs in the Hall of Shame. The only thing he gets even close to the Hall of Fame is the fact that they have a steroid era where his stuff is actually in there. But you know what? Yeah, the Hall of Fame isn't designed to be cheaters or jerks. Now, it's funny how you mentioned Sammy Sosa. I do have to admit this, though. I'll be partial towards Sammy Sosa because I worked with him in 1987. Listen, Jeremy, before you shake your head.
I'm allowed to shake my head.
Well, you can shake your head. Yeah, I figure maybe you're having neck problems, so you need to loosen it. Nope. Okay. But with all due respect, I worked with Sammy Sosa in 1987 for the Gastonia Rangers, and we were good friends and all that. He's a nice guy, and all that. Obviously, I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame either, but don't discount the fact that Sosa and McGuire saved baseball to begin with when nobody thought baseball would ever come back. But Barry Bonds, a different story. Pittsburgher or not, he's got to be liked somewhere. I think they like him in Pittsburgh, but they like him in San Francisco. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Shame because this guy could have made it to the Hall of Fame with his God-given ability. Is what he could have been, a stolen base guy and a home run guy. But no, he figured he'd go out there and eat the candy. Nothing like mine, though.
All right, there we
He's
are,
a
Jay.
bum. You know what? Barry
Sarah
Bonds
Scott.
isn't an external bum. He's an external and an internal bum.
All right, San Francisco likes Bonds a ton. All right, well, that's good to know. All right. Okay. Sorry, I stirred up a stew pot. I do that a lot.
Oh, no, you didn't. That was a great topic. Had to get me going here this morning. You had to.
I know. Oh, always, Scott. I have to get you going, man. The show would be the same.
And I kept it clean. I don't use any of them swear words. The new swear words I have to my vocabulary are sick to man, really and seriously. We try to keep it a very program friendly without the expletives. But really and seriously, don't classify as swear words.
No, they do not. All right.
Really? Seriously? Had to get it in again.
Let's get into our local segment, and our local segment is brought to you in part by oh wait, that's not what I wanted to do there. That's a different graphic here. Let's see, where's that one I need here? All right, here we are. The original hometown pizza, Moon Township, 412-264-4444. Eat in, take out, or delivery in the Moon area. Call the original hometown pizza in Moon Township, and they're the sponsors of our next segment coming up. But first, we're going to go back to the comment section. I want to know why Jeremy shook his head. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Because I can. There. But my ugly for the year is let's start with one of the first sports personalities that passed away in the off season. Tyree Jackson, him and his two friends who did the right thing, had a designated driver to be hit and killed by a drunk driver. That was the ugliest situation of the year to start the football news.
All right. Okay, now let's go into our local segment. Let's start with you, Scott. Local, what's going on in your area?
What's going on? The Florida Panthers, as far as I'm concerned, are dealing with the Stanley Cup hangover. You know, they're not an invincible hockey team right now. They've been shut out a couple of times. Doesn't break my heart. I don't care. They got their one and done. So we'll see. So I don't care. I think as far as the Miami Dolphins are concerned, we'll know a lot more whether Tua comes back to play and whether it's going to matter. All Denver has to do is just beat a Kansas City team and win and get in. The Miami Dolphins got too far behind. I give them credit for actually going out there and coming back, but a little bit too late, unless for some reason a miracle springs upon us. As far as the Miami Hurricanes, well, they fired their defensive coordinator, Lance Guidry, and why not? I mean, 40 points against Iowa State, and the Hurricanes defense, to me, struggled toward the end of the year. But we'll see what happens. Mario Cristobal will go out there and regroup, and we'll get this team back on track hopefully next year. University of Miami, why, Scott Disbury? No, I don't think so. The Miami Hurricanes will be fine. Everybody wants to play for the U. If you go out, people do their research, all you have to do is look at how many pros are in the pros. And I'll tell you, you look at Xavier Restrepo and Jacoby George, you have Andres Borregales, a good kicker, Cam Ward. Got a lot of guys that will be playing in the NFL on Sundays come next fall. Draft day will be interesting if you're a Canes guy. And I love working with Mario Cristobal, the most straightforward shooter I've ever worked with. And he's just a great guy to be around. I feel like I found myself a home in football over the University of Miami. They treated me fantastic.
All right, let's go back to the comment section here. Jay's keeping us busy, so is Pensman. Very good, thank you. And then we have Jay here. He says, Cam Ward, #1 pick. Okay.
I find it highly doubtful because if Patriots stay at 1, they don't need a quarterback right now. And I don't think they're trading away Drake May. I think it would be idiotic to take the cap hit to trade away the 3rd pick overall from the previous season when he's played well.
I don't see it happening. But you know what, though? Candy will tell you when she was over at the Pop-Tarts Bowl last week, New York, that was before the Giants won, by the way, on Sunday, okay, that 2 scouts told Cam Ward to play in that first half is what they did so they can see him on live film.
Right.
That's what she told me. Now, I believe anybody like her that's sitting on the field hearing this stuff, because none of us are, and we're all wondering what's going on. But no, Jeremy, you are 100% on point. There's no way, and I like Drake May. I think the guy has a huge upside. They need a good playmaker, whether it's a running back or a wide receiver that can give this guy some more offensive help. So you are 100% on point, Jeremy. You are. I don't see anything happening there. But they need a running back and they need a wide receiver is what they need.
And I think that number one, the choice that the New England Patriots are thinking about if they're not trading it is Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty.
Well, there you go. I'm not debating you on that.
Okay. Jay says, good point. And it says Candy with the inside information. Very good. All
That's
right.
as inside as you get when you're on the field taking pictures, listening to the people.
That's it. There you go. All right, Jeremy, local. Go ahead with you.
Well, the Lions are preparing for the biggest matchup of the year. We'll see. I don't know about that one. It really depends on if anybody trades up ahead of them. But let's get into this. This is the biggest game of the year coming up in the NFL. Never has there been 2 teams with this good of a record facing each other for the last week of the season. And I expect a slobber knocker. That's all I got to say. It's going to be a dogfight. Tigers are still in talks with Alex Brigman. They haven't broke down yet, so there's still a chance they're going to spend some money.
Yeah, what I've heard about that is the Tigers are okay on the money. According to Scott Boras, it's just a matter of the length of the contract.
Yep. So it's close. That's what I'm saying. It's close to a deal being done because the contract talks with, I think it was Baltimore was the other one, broke down.
Well, Houston.
Well, no, Houston broke down a long time ago. That's why he became a free agent.
Well, number one, he wants to be reunited with A.J. Hinch, and Scott Boras has a good working relationship with the Detroit Tigers. And the one thing people have to understand is anytime you have an agent who over the years has had a good relationship with a particular organization, they'll let things go a little bit until they work out something out.
You know what, Michael Marsh? I will be fine with a 33-33 tie because that means the Lions stay the 1 seed and don't move.
Sure, because after all, they went out there and beat them in their only head-to-head matchup up in Minnesota.
And they still win the division and stay the number 1 seed.
Exactly, right? Because of the head-to-head thing.
Yep. I'll be fine with a tie or a win.
And I'll take 33-33 all day long because 33 is my lucky number.
There you go.
And 33.4 points is what the Lions are averaging as the number 1 offense in the league.
Yeah, but they don't put 33.4 points when it comes to a score, pal. 33-33. Not that I know much about math in the first place. I'm awful at it. That's why you have calculators.
Right.
All right, my local is the Penguins. They lost last night to the Red Wings the other night. Last night they were involved in a tough game last night as well. And the Steelers are playing the Cincinnati Bengals tonight at 8:00 p.m. They have to win this game in order to win the division. The Ravens, if they lose or win, we still get the division because of the tiebreaker, but we have to win today, and I think we will. Cleveland's playing the Ravens. We talked about that earlier. I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan, but I will be rooting for them today. I want the Ravens to lose, but we'll see what happens there. Also, anything can happen in the NFL, Bill Cowher once said, anything. So we'll see what goes on here. And also, don't forget about the college bowl games and the championship series. So far, there's been some upsets that we didn't expect, and as we talked earlier about some of that stuff as well. And the Pittsburgh Pirates re-signed Andrew McCutchen, $5 million for 1 year. That'll be great. That'll put butts in the seats. Skeens will put butts in the seats. Bobbleheads will put butts in the seats. Fireworks and concerts. So that'll all put butts in the seats. So for the Pirates this year. So.
Yeah, that Red Wings score when they beat Pittsburgh really broke my heart. Boy, I wanted to stick it to you on Thursday night, but your internet problem saved me from doing it. So I had to save it today. But let me tell you one thing, Ralph, with all due respect, Todd McClellan was a great hire by Steve Yzerman. That's an excellent hire. I know for the longest time we've talked about Joel Quenneville, and I never thought Gerard Gallant had a chance, only because of the fact that he's always been there 2 or 3 years and then got run out. I look at Gerard Gallant as a modern day version of Billy Martin. But Todd McClellan's a good hire for the Red Wings. He really is. He holds teams accountable. They're not lifeless. They're not listless. So, Pittsburgh obviously started off very, very poorly, and they picked it up under Mike Sullivan, a proven coach. But Todd McClellan, Detroit Red Wings, watch out for them the second half of the year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go today. It says, I heard the biggest bum is Ken, the Bears fan, for guarantee that the Bears would win 10 games. Oh my! I don't know what Kool-Aid he's drinking there, guys. I really don't. All right, South Florida Tribune. Thank you. Great show. Thank you as always from the South Florida Tribune for your support of the show, and also for having me on Thursdays for the Fire Up Show. All right, McCutcheon's retirement tour. Yes, it is absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. The Red Wings, says Jay, and also Michael. He says, "Go Pack, go!" All right, there we are.
That'll make Candy's day.
Jeremy,
I have been. I have been.
Listening. Gun show, just come on.
Yeah, say what you want about the Packers, though, and I'm going to be putting this out as one of our archive shows. But we talk about Jordan Love, but the Packers have another good quarterback in Malik Willis. And if Jordan Love gets hurt, Malik Willis, to me, is an excellent quarterback. And the Tennessee Titans made a really bad move, and they let this guy get away. Because look what happened to him this year. So the Packers are fine. God forbid if Jordan Love were to get hurt, but Malik Willis, do not sell this guy short.
Oh, no. I watched him at Liberty, and I watched him in the Senior Bowl, Scott. I thought when the Titans got him, they just didn't know what to do with him in the offensive system there, maybe, and the coaches let him down. Now he's in Green Bay. He's got Matt LaFleur as his head coach. Is working with him and putting it together. So, I'm happy for Malik Willis. I did like him when he was in the draft, and whatnot. And I'm glad that he's doing better. Sometimes the system don't work, coaches don't work, and you have to go somewhere else and find a greener pasture or a change of scenery. And it's working for Malik Willis. And sometimes it works for
that change of scenery is in Green Bay, pal. They got some great coaches. Matt LaFleur, you have some good offensive minds in Green Bay. That's a perfect situation for them.
All right, Jay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And
that one there, I want to address this because I'm going to ask something, because is it really Jordan Love? Because let's face it, Matt LaFleur got Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers when he took over, got able to get great records and take him to the MVP and fail in big games with Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Is it all Jordan Love, or is some of it on Matt LaFleur for not being able to coach them past the big game? There's your question.
Yes,
but I'm still going to go back to what I said before, and that being this. Number one, Matt LaFleur is an excellent young coach. And you know what? Jordan Love, to me, shows a lot of upside. So we'll have to see. The Green Bay Packers, to their credit, okay, they find a way to develop, and they draft and develop. And I tell you one thing, Matt LaFleur has done a nice job there. Aaron Rodgers, we can get into another conversation all day, but he let himself out the door, and I think the Packers are glad that they could say good riddance to him.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Right.
I'm just saying, since that time, in the same amount of time before Aaron Rodgers went super diva.
Yeah, right.
All right, we're going to take these last two comments here, and then we're going to close up the show here today for another edition of the hold on a second. Let's see what we got here. All right, there we are. All right, it says, doing well, Candy. Thank you for asking. Thank you, South Florida Tribune, for your comments as well. Michael here says, LaFleur has a great regular season record. Much of the Cow Pies they fall in the post. And then we have Pensman here who says it's not quarterback coach that has the final say. All right, the owner has the
Yeah, the
final
coach
say.
is the owner that has the final say. He's right
Yeah,
because he's
absolutely,
the
he
one
is.
that calls those
Yes.
plays. And yes, at times the quarterback may fail to execute, but it's up to all 11 players on the field to execute that play. And you don't know the little nuances that went wrong when a play goes bad. I mean, all we see is the final results. Go, oh man, that was a horrible interception, or that was a horrible sack. But you didn't
All
see
right,
that a guy just didn't even chip or block somebody, and he got to run straight through and just demolish the guy.
Well, I'll say this real quick, Ralph. I know you have to get going, but remember one thing about the Green Bay Packers this year: they'd be in trouble without Josh Jacobs.
all
Josh
right.
Jacobs has been unbelievable.
Oh yes, he
100%.
has. Oh yeah, yeah. He's found new life in Green Bay. We used to play for the Raiders, but he found new life in Green Bay, and I'm glad to see that he's doing well. Let's see here, Josh, for not doing a post game show for the Pens Panthers game. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Check
Well,
with
Josh, I have only one thing to say: get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not doing a post game tonight for the Steeler game because it's a late game, and I'm not doing it. So I don't do post game
Amen.
shows for late games, only
I do
for
them the
day
next
games.
day. I do them the next day
Exactly.
when I do a post game show when it's a
Yeah,
late game.
exactly.
Let me
So
tell you, the only post game I do is when I go to games and I just go out there and talk to the coaches and get whatever I want. I don't need them all these shows. I like to talk to the people that are newsmakers. That's the only post game I even know and want to know. It's called reality media.
Jay, I like that. That's good.
RM, reality media. All these guys that are couch potatoes that are covering games. Really? Seriously? Covering what?
All right,
Do they call themselves pseudo journalists? Is that a new term I'm going to introduce in Lessons from the Microphone Part 2? I'm covering the game. What, from my couch? Seriously? Really? Get that thing called a pen and a paper and a computer and think you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're feeding
Josh.
your ego.
Josh, I never said you and your friends are no longer welcome here. You just got to watch your comments. That's the only thing we're asking for you, and it's not hard, Josh. Okay, it's not hard at all. Just watch what you're saying here because it's not going to be going up on the comment section anymore. Okay, it's done.
It's called
All right.
cracking down, Joshua.
Yes, absolutely. So there you go. I welcome your comments, but not when they're, really stupid stuff that has nothing to do with the show. The External Bum Show is about bums and sports. That's what we talk about at the beginning of the show, and then we go into some sports topics and blend in some bums. We even take bums from you guys, but we're not talking about the other bums or anything like that. That's not going to happen anymore here.
Ralph,
Okay, on
you
the
don't
show.
need to justify enough. Save
Yeah.
it.
But
Save
anyway,
it, Ralph.
Scott, I'm going to do my closing first. You can reach me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, X platforms. Also, don't forget to watch my shows on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe. I need 7. I'm up to 193. I need 7 to make 200. And don't forget to follow me on my Twitter X page as well. Don't forget on Saturdays, my radio shows, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the Ralph Williams Show, and 2 to 3 p.m., the Sports Corner Show, 1250 AM, 92.5 FM. You can watch online on the answer.com. And don't forget my website, www.rwmediaproductions.com. And if you're interested in any sponsorship advertising, ralphwilliams737@gmail.com. And also, if you have any other comments you want to make on here, Scott, go with your closing.
Why don't you put my book up there real quick, Ralph, and then I'll also talk about the closing. If you want to go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, gets it done. After all, Candy went out there and built the thing from scratch. Our Twitter/X is at Tribune South. But I take pride in my book, and I'm looking forward to writing the other one. Obviously, I'm dealing with some medical challenges right now, but I am determined as heck to go out there and write another book because I feel I have some other business that needs to be updated. And I think it would be great for everybody to expand on what we did in the first book. So, and as you mentioned, Ralph, it can be obtained on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Kindle. And we will be having an audio version coming out over the next 2 to 4 weeks. So stay tuned for updates. I finally found somebody at Toastmasters willing to do it. And this woman's unbelievable. So her and I will be linked forever with her doing the audio book. And I'm proud of her. So there it is. That's my baby, but I got another one on the way. But no,
Right.
another baby book wise.
There you go.
And I know
Absolutely.
everybody remembered that, but no, that's important when you can take 45 years. And incidentally, Ralph and Jeremy, I celebrated my 45th year, on December 29th when I actually got in the business with George Acorn. And now I was able to make that milestone, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I possibly can. So I'm looking for the next book. The outlining may not start on it, though, for another 4 to 5 weeks as I have some more other business to take care of. But I'm glad to be on here every Saturday. We have a lot of fun. Enjoy the chemistry amongst the three of us, with all due respect. It's a wide open but flamboyant show. Nothing against the other guy that was on here, but I've enjoyed being able to go out there and just lay it out there for everybody.
Absolutely. And once in a while, we can have a guest on as a fourth person if Leo decides to go
Exactly.
So, I got some guys that I've had on here before, and, they would be more than happy to come on here. So, but anyway,
Yep.
all right, Jeremy, go ahead with your closing.
My closing is I hope everyone had a wonderful and safe and happy holiday. Hold your family members close because, as we've seen lately, they can all be gone in an instant.
All right, there you go. Josh says bring Pensman on. I'll reach out to him and we'll have him on as well. So, there you go. All right, I want to thank everybody in the comments section today. I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Thank you for watching, and don't forget next week we'll be here at 9 a.m. For the External Bum Show for Jeremy BALREICH, Scott Morganroth, and Leo Haggerty may be back next week. We'll see what happens there. But if not, I hope Leo gets better. He said he wasn't feeling well today. He was having some issues with cold, so everyone is doing that as well.
Yeah,
All right.
get well, Leo. I enjoy matching wits ends with you. I really do. You got a guy who's 70 years old and now one that turns 62. And if we're not old school, then I don't know what the word old school are. So get well, Haggerty.
All right. I want to wish Scott Morganroth a very happy belated birthday right here. And I also want to wish everybody a happy new year. And also, Scott, happy 45th anniversary on your being in the media as part of that. Secondly, the media job that I was telling everybody that I didn't really explain about, that I was supposed to get with, that I possibly was supposed to get with 1250. The answer is not going to happen. They've decided to go in another direction. But I am number one on their list if they decide to do a live show once again. I will be number one to get the job. So I just want to let everyone know that. So, but continue to check out my radio shows and my website. And don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter X. All right, for Scott Morganroth, Jeremy BALREICH, and myself, we'll see you. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thank you for watching, and please be safe.